All right, on this video we're going to be talking about the moon phases. Of all science concepts, they've done like polls and figured all this stuff out. Of all the science concepts out there are around that pertain to science, the number one most misunderstood concept for people to understand is what causes the phases of the moon. So when I'm saying the phases of the moon, when you go out at night and you see that it's a full moon and then it changes and you see just a little sliver that's lit up or half of it's lit up, what is the deal with that? Why does that happen? What I would like you to do today, after you learn this and what really causes us to see different, the moon to look differently from night to night, week to week, month to month, I would like you to ask your parents, ask your siblings, ask them, hey, what do you think causes the moon to look differently at different times? My guess is a lot of them will have misunderstandings, and there's usually one explanation. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but maybe you think that's what causes it, and we'll talk about that later together as a class. So, all right. So what I've done is you guys have this handout, and at any time, at any given time, from the rays of the sun, the sunlight, there's always half of anything in our solar system that is illuminated, shiny, reflects the sun's light, and there's the other half of that sphere that is in darkness. And so what I've done is on these outer side circles, these are what is happening as the moon is traveling around Earth. So E is Earth. I don't need to put it here, but on all of them, but these outer circles are going to be the moon as they travel that 29 and a half day lap around us. Okay? And so keeping that in mind, that half of it is always in shadows, half of it is always lit up. We have named these different the synodic month, which is the phases that we have. So what we're going to do is we're going to track the calendar, and as we take a lap around for the month, get it? Month. The word month comes from the moon. The moon is what has dictated our calendar. We've tracked time from these different moon phases. So we're going to write down some different days. Now, these inner circles are, I'm not going to write it because I don't have room, but this is what we would see. So this is what's happening as it's going around. This is what we're going to see if we're on Earth and we were looking at that sky. So, day one. Okay. Day one, if I'm on Earth and I am looking and it's nighttime and I'm looking at the moon, what would I see? Well, I would see that this whole side, the side that's facing us, would be in darkness. And so, this is what I would see. Completely dark. Okay, I'm not going to shade it all the way in. And that moon phase is new moon. Okay, this is called a new moon phase. All right. Now, see if you guys can track with me on this. We know that the entire lap around takes a month, 29 and a half days. And so we can actually tell time and we can predict. So what's going to be half of the month? Well, it's going to be about 2 weeks. What is going to be a quarter of a month? It's going to be about 7 days. So from moon phase to moon phase, it's going to be about 3 or 4 days. And so our next moon phase is going to be day number 4. And if you can see, we should be able to pick up a little bit of light on this side if we're looking. Okay, if we're looking at the moon. All right? And this moon phase is called a waxing. So we would just see just a sliver. And so I'm going to put pictures in here so that you guys can kind of see this as I talk about it. Okay, we would see just a sliver on the right-hand side of light. Okay, so this is going to be dark. Okay, and so this is called a waxing crescent phase. So we're going to see as we go across this, I'll help you to understand the waxing half and etc. But so we just see just a little sliver and it's on the right hand side. Okay, so if we're doing the math here, this is going to be about the day 7. Okay, and if I was on Earth and I was looking at this, I got to kind of think of myself turned this way and looking at it. The right hand side, okay, is going to have light. Okay, so some people would call this a half moon, and that's technically not correct because this is only a quarter. We're only seeing a quarter of it, and so this one is called first quarter. A first quarter moon. Okay, so about 7 days have gone by. Again, this is what we see. This is what is happening. So as we go on another about 3 days, so this is day 10. Okay, we're going to see pretty much all of the moon, except we're going to have a little bit of a shadow on this side. Okay, and so it's going to look like this. Okay, it's not quite full, but this side is a little bit darker and it kind of looks oblong shaped. Okay, this is called a waxing gibbous. Gibbous, waxing gibbous moon. Okay, now if you've noticed, and this is how I kind of remember the waxing half. If you've ever taken wax and you have a candle lit and it drips, that wax will build up and build up and build up. Okay, so this is called the waxing half. And how I remember it is the light is building and growing during that half, during those moon phases. If that helps you, I hope so. Maybe you have a different way of learning it, but that's the waxing half. Okay, now this is going to be about day number 14. Two weeks since it started. Okay. And what would we see? Well, look, this entire half moon is what we would see. So we're not going to change anything on what we would see. The entire side would be lit up, and I'm sure you guys know that's called a full moon. Okay. We're going to watch a video that will talk about if we didn't have any moon and the effects. But during full moons, some pretty crazy stuff happens. Biological changes and those kinds of things do occur. Okay, so if we're continuing on in our monthly trek, okay, as we're going by about day 18. Okay, now we're, instead of waxing, the light is actually starting to go away. And so if you guys can kind of see this, we would see all of this, and we'd see this little part of the shadow over here. And so we would see basically the reverse of this. Okay, so we have a little sliver of darkness on the right-hand side. So this is called a waning gibbous moon. Okay. And again, this is going to be the waxing half, light coming, growing. This is going to be the waning half. And how I kind of remember this is waning, waving. The light is waving goodbye, waning, going away. All right? Okay, if we're doing our numbers, it's going to be about day 22 or so. All right. And if I am looking from Earth, looking at that, this is going to be the one time where what is going on is exactly what I would see. All right. And so this is another quarter moon. All right. So if you take a look at this, this is first quarter. Technically, this is second quarter. So if I have 2 quarters, that's a half moon, right? So this is called a third quarter moon. Okay? Third quarter moon. Now, if you take a look at this last phase, and then we'll get back to the beginning. If I'm looking on Earth, it's almost going to be all the way gone, except for a little sliver of light right here. Okay, so this is another crescent moon. So it's going to be all dark except for that left-hand little sliver. Again, these inner circles are what we would see on Earth, right? Okay, and so this is going to be about day 27 or so, day 26, somewhere in there. And so this is going to be, instead of a waxing crescent, this is the waning side. So this is going to be the waning crescent moon. Okay, and then we get back to here at the beginning and the new moon. So this is also going to be day 29 or 30, right? Okay, so this is how we get our calendar. This is how we get the month. Now, on your homework assignments and on our tests, I'm going to be able to kind of see if you can track the time. And so if we go outside and it's a first quarter moon, and I wanted to know how long until it's new moon. New moon phases are great for things like hunting. Okay, Mr. Throne and I pick the week we go hunting kind of based on the moon phases. And so if it's first quarter moon and we go outside and we look at it, we go, man, how much longer until we get a new moon phase? Well, we get 2 weeks to get here and another week to get here, so it's going to be about 3 weeks away. Okay. Likewise, full moon, don't want it to be there. Okay, how long until, let's say, we get to a new moon? That's going to be 2 weeks to get there. So you guys, I'm going to ask you questions on some assignments. You might see them on some assignments, and you also might see them on our test, where I tell you, hey, it's this phase, what's going on? Also, the phases of the moon dictate what's going on with the tides, and that will be another video that we will talk about. Okay? And so this timepiece, knowing the time that it takes to go from phase to phase and across, how long until we get to certain ones, okay, are questions that make you think. So there you go, the moon phases, waxing, waning. I hope you know those terms.